Today, a lot of picks and bans were 100% focused when you look at the likes of Ashe, Syndra, Varus. We've already got some adjustments with that LeBlanc now being taken off the table, but I mean the blue side bans out of VP here, taking away some of the strongest picks from yesterday in the Ivern and the Caitlyn.
Yeah, it's like they were saying on the analyst desk. You pick the Ivern, pick the Caitlyn, all of a sudden, you've got yourself a nice protection comp in the making, and Virtus.pro do not want to have to deal with that, so they've removed it. LYN answer with the Kennen ban.
And now that's putting a lot of pressure now on Doxy, potentially in that top lane. Of course, us being from Europe, we have seen a lot of Kennen in the AD carry role as well, but Doxy didn't actually show Kennen in the regular split or the playoffs. So interesting, we now get to see the adjustments here in picks and bans. LYN, maybe that's a ban away to try and reduce any lane pressure in the top lane.
And they've clearly been doing their homework on the side of VP. They ban away the Rengar, one of the most played champions for Audi during the LLN opening split, and there is going to be a Lucian ban.
And that means Graves is available here. That has been one of the most banned out junglers. You don't have to pick it right now because typically people have been picking that into the Ivern. It's a good clear jungler alongside it. Shout out with the hover over Sona. The CIS region have put Sona in their games a couple of times, but this is now a very early game focus from Creox. He played 4 games of it in the regular split and playoffs over in the CIS, but now we get to ask, what does Audi play in response to this? He's played a lot of Kha'Zix, that Rengar has been banned. The Elise is maybe where you start looking towards as this draft goes further through.
Yeah, he showed a bit of a larger pool than Creox has throughout the split, but they don't necessarily have to take it on this rotation unless maybe they want to mix things up afterwards. The Ashe gets locked in early on, and Audi's still hovering. We did see a Shaco game out of him. It could happen. I don't know about right now, though.
Not right now, perhaps, but I think it's interesting here. You pick the Ashe, it's likely to be Varus in response. We've got Caitlyn off the board, we've got Lucian off the board. There is the Elise, so VP have to take the Varus in this rotation if they want to contend in that bottom lane against LYN. I wonder whether they'll also look towards support for Santos. He's played a whole lot of Tahm Kench, and Zyra is available as well. His 2 most played champions are up and available for this draft.
So with the Varus locked in, they can definitely look to make that lane a nightmare for White Lotus and Genthix. We'll see if they decide to round it out on this rotation. But definitely they're making for a lot of pressure, but no, Paranoia locks with Taliyah.
Yeah, that's the Taliyah we were talking about. His most played champion in that middle lane. I'm now expecting to see VP to play quite heavily around the bottom lane with this, with the Varus, pair it with something that can push as well, whether it's the Karma or the Zyra that we have seen. Maybe we'll see VP focus down to get blasting ahead. But for LYN now, do they look towards mid lane here? Do they try and pinch the support pool? They're going to end up losing out potentially on a mid lane matchup if they don't end up going for it.
Yeah, and they lock the Echo, so the Zyra might end up getting banned on this next rotation, but they have themselves a mid laner to match. Seiya going toe-to-toe with the Taliyah Paranoia, and now we enter ban phase 2.
Yeah, don't know whether Seiya will end up taking the Ghost or the Teleport that we commonly see on the Echo in the mid lane. You can obviously TP in, run a 1-3-1 composition. Obviously, that depends now heavily on what LYN end up getting. Now, where we go as the last set of picks depends on the pacing LYN want to put on this. They ban out 1 support already. It starts indicating they're looking potentially to last pick top lane and pick the support first in this rotation. That's what they're indicating towards, but it doesn't necessarily lock them into that.
And we have 1 top lane banned away on Virtus.pro's side. It's going to be the Kled off the board right now.
Now, do you take the Karma away here? The Zyra, is that your second ban for LYN Gaming? Those would be continuing to focus on the middle lane. Will they look towards taking away something in the top lane, perhaps? Like a Nautilus that could be flexed, now gets taken away from the draft as well. So LYN trying to steal as much pacing away from Virtus.pro in ban phase 2 as they can.
Yeah, it's also Doxy's most played. You know, he's had a fair amount of success on that champion and spent his kind of go-to tank. So if he decides to still go for a tanky champion, kind of falls down a little bit in his priority. We'll see what the last ban is for Virtus.pro. It is going to be the Fizz. There's a couple carries off the board there, and now it's back to LYN.
Yeah, a lot of these matchups are the anti-tank matchups that take away LYN's ability to take something like a Maokai that they have played previously. Now, will it be a Rumble that comes out is the interesting thing. They would be heavily into AP damage, especially if they were looking for a ranged support. Nope, it's going to be what we were talking about before. Take the support here and end up turning this back around.
Yep, so the Karma's all locked in. We have the Ashe Karma bottom lane, and that's a lot of matching harass. We'll see what Blasting is able to pair with. Santos having to lock in his support on this last rotation. We'll still be looking for that top laner, but Doxy's going to have to take it blind. 10 seconds remaining. Oh, and the Blitzcrank is in. Hello.
Now, he has played one game, and it is one win on this Blitzcrank. This is a champion we started seeing in Europe at the end of the split.
I mean, Johnny was having some fun, but still.
That was when games didn't matter. Now this game does matter. And look, you pair this together. Maybe they go Shen here, something that can, again, come to the bottom lane and look to snowball. You've got a Talia coming down. A Blitzcrank is there. Rumble does the job as well. You can TP down and have massive impact in these fights. All they need is Santos to hit one hook, and bot lane potentially snowballs so heavily in Virtus Pro's favor that LYN gets stalled out past that early game play that they were looking for.
Oh boy, that is a challenge. Did not expect the Blitzcrank to be coming through, and now it's back to LYN. What do they answer with?
This is a difficult spot because Gnar would be one option that we've seen. The Camille is available, of course. A couple of adjustments to Camille. Can be played into the Rumble quite effectively. A little bit less sustain than she had on previous patches on 7.8. This is going to be an explosive game. VP focused on snowballing bottom lane. LYN focused on a 1-3-1 setup with an Elise to create picks and advantages. Camille, Echo, if they get ahead, are going to be so unstoppable for VP without one massive 5v5. This is going to be a very fun game.
And LYN are going to need the coordination that they've built, their time together to try and shut down this Virtus Pro snowball machine. Oh boy, anytime you have a Blitzcrank, things are just going to be looking good. He's going all in to get that Ignite. You are going to have a lot of action in that bottom lane. White Lotus and Gentrix are going to have to watch out. And man, how bold do you have to be to pull this out in your first game on a big international stage? That is a big statement.
Yeah, that takes a lot to kind of just say, lock the Blitz in. We know already, we've played it in one game. I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Oh, yes, indeed. You know, it's not the first time we've seen a team from the CIS have some interesting support choices. This is the region that Licorice comes from after all, but Virtus Pro are trying to follow in those footsteps and come up with something innovative. We'll see if it's enough to take down LYN Gaming and set the record. Put themselves on the top of the expectations table at Group B over here. LYN Gaming, they're looking to show up to those expectations with their 1-3-1 composition. Oh boy, it's going to be a challenge though in that bottom lane.
This has been a fun draft already. Of course, Blitzcrank doesn't offer a massive amount to a push potential in that bottom lane, so I do expect VP's bot lane to some extent to get pushed in. Now we have to see, does Creox come bot lane? Does Oddie come bot lane? Where does the focus go? Because, you know, Paranoia, he's coming bot as soon as he's got that Weaver's Wall.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of roam potential on this VP side, and we'll see if LYN can hang tough here, and if they can get themselves into the 1-3-1 setup that they want, get a couple of kills on either the Camille or the Echo. I mean, that's definitely the ticket to starting to get the ball rolling for them. We'll see if they're able to get it done.
And this is a really, really emphasized 1-3-1 snowball style composition out of LYN Gaming, where if they get ahead, that Elise gets one kill for an Echo, one kill for a Camille that you're talking about. It doesn't really matter what White Lotus and Gentrix are doing in the bot lane. They can afford to be slightly behind as long as they don't end up giving over a bunch of kills to the enemy. If they go even, LYN Gaming will have such a good spot to play from.
Yeah, try to survive against that blitz lane, but all the same, Seiya, definitely a big superstar on this team, and with the Echo in his hands, you can see it being a rough matchup. We highlighted him versus Paranoia, and it really is true to their styles. Trying to carry from the lane versus trying to play around the team. We'll see who takes it. The crowd lets up a cheer as we're in to game number 1 of day 2 here at MSI 2017. Virtus Pro, LYN Gaming.
We're getting some Blitzcrank play level 1. You've all seen this in solo queue. You group up with the Blitzcrank. This ward out early is a really good deterrent to this from LYN. This is the, like, I'm not trying to be derogatory, but this is the very common solo queue-esque Blitzcrank start. You invade the enemy first buff. If you can take it away, catch somebody, get anything, it instantly sets the team ahead. However, it's easily read. One ward already denies a lot of this early game playmaking from this Blitzcrank before minions spawn and before the lane settle. That doesn't mean LYN are out of the woods with this Blitz, but that's the way you deny the first play from VP.
Yep. Able to see it coming, shut it down early on is important, so they didn't take any chances on the Trinket wards, placing them nice and early. And as a result, Virtus Pro are unable to get anything out of that early play. But all the same, if they can shut down Audi early on, especially on this Elise, that mitigates some of that early pressure on the top and mid lane.
It does. It was looking for somebody that's slightly out of position, somebody that's not used to playing against that Blitzcrank. Oh, that was a little unfortunate timing perhaps out by Audi there, but does manage to tank these Raptors pretty effectively afterwards. But now we need to look at this bottom lane. This is where the Blitzcrank is really going to come into his own, as Audi is dropping quite low on this. But when you look at bot lane, Ashe, no real escape. Karma, no real escape. Against a Blitzcrank, it's a good pick. There are very few AD carries that are particularly good against Blitzcrank. You look at the likes of an Ezreal, so what it means is if Blasting and Santis actually do land one hook, you get flashed. The next time you land that hook, you get the kill. So White Lotus and Genthix will have to keep Blasting and Santis at arm's reach here. Keep them as far away as possible. Ooh.
Yeah, Paranoia is trying to do the same though, but Seiya, he goes in early on, the phase dive throws the Time Winder out, and he's going to just have to try and survive. He is leading on the CS, but as things start, it is just a wind up back and forth. And Paranoia, well, we talked about him trying to get on a roam, and I don't think he'll be coming down that early, but he does get a few wards out. Does not want to fall prey to Audi early on in this game.
Yeah, I like this early ward out. Paranoia now stops any kind of tricky play, whether it's onto Creox or whether it is onto Paranoia. That ward right there will spot almost any path into mid lane. You can hug the wall. And as you've also seen the jump over to the blast cone from Audi, they're looking for bot lane. This is because White Lotus and Genthix want to put as much pressure on this Blitzcrank as possible early on. That's a very early cocoon that doesn't quite land.
Pixel away, they pull Audi in, he takes a tower shot. It's going to be the end of it, but Santis is dropped low.
And Audi couldn't repel in. You never want to. You always want to hold it so that you can repel back out. But in this lane, there's also that more deadly focus where if you get pulled in and you don't have repel, there's no escape. You would have to burn flash at that point. So LYN Gaming trying to put as much emphasis on bottom lane early as they can. VP hold their nerve. Nothing really gets used.
What we haven't talked about yet in this game has been the top lane matchup. The Rumble picked blind, of course, and answering on the last rotation was Jiral's Camille. We'll see what he's able to get done with this one. Camille is a champion that can obviously close gaps very effectively early on. In pre-6, Doxy could have been in trouble, but it's been more of a farm fest right now, and they're just trying to place as many wards as they can to make sure that they can't get caught out by Audi once again.
Exactly, and this is where Doxy very smartly puts wards up in the top side jungle because they know Audi, he spent time in the bottom lane. It means he has to clear out the rest of his bottom jungle before he can come up to Krugs on the top side, if you assume he has done a regular clear, which now the wards have spotted out. That means VP is safe on the top side for a while because Audi doesn't want to fall behind in experience, and they can play again to kind of stall out any early snowball that would come from LYN Gaming.
All right, blasting.
Is that a Storm Raiders Lee Sin?
That is a little bit of a different keystone than we normally see on the Lee Sins. Oftentimes the Thunder Lords giving a little bit extra damage, but that you have to do a lot of damage to be able to proc that.
Yeah, this is Creox saying, I'm going to go Tiamat, I'm going to just carry, it's going to be everything about getting kills. Well, we'll see if it actually pays off at any point. This could be the one time where you're able to get away from under tower or something from that happening. We'll keep our eyes and keep that in mind as we go through the game. But Creox now going aggressive.
Finds Audi, turns right around, the cocoon keeps him stopped up, and he's unfortunately going to have to safeguard out of there. Bold move by Creox, but it wasn't enough.
And that is one of those areas where without the additional damage coming from Masteries, it's difficult to take that trade early on. You land right into a cocoon. Any jungler pretty much that gets cocooned by Elise in a 1v1 means you end up losing that situation. So with less damage from Creox, it also doesn't help out. But again, no impact yet from this Blitzcrank. We keep coming down to this bottom lane because that's one of the areas where it is going to have a lot of impact, but it hasn't been felt yet.
Well, it's a high-risk, high-reward champion overall, and unfortunately for Santis and Blasting, they honestly just kind of get pushed back under tower. This is going to be a lot of early push for White Lotus and Genthix, who've been able to survive this lane just fine.
Yeah, and our matchup that we were featuring coming into this Seiya versus Paranoia,
boy,
not quite 6 yet.
Has to burn that flash, he's going in, but Audi's coming right back around. In goes the Time Winder. Parallel Convergence doesn't connect. Paranoia is able to heal up nice and easy, though. And once 6 happens for him, he's going to be able to get his roam on down to the bottom lane. Question is he going to go for it right away as Creox heads topside?
Yeah, now, you look at what VP have been doing to try and track Audi through this game. It's been effective. It's forced Audi into situations where he's reaching a little bit more for engages, throwing out the cocoon earlier. And Paranoia was able to move out of lane in enough time. Now, he has hit level 6. Keep in mind, Sia did use his teleport, so it means that that roaming advantage is potentially in favor of VP. But with Creox in the top side, Paranoia recalling back out low mana. They can't really go on this, but Giral, remember, he can go untargetable.
He does. He goes right in onto Doxy, turns around and keeps them locked up in the cage, but Creox is trying to juggle that aggro right now. Doxy tanking way too many tower shots, and an ult for an ult, and that's the trade.
Important block from Creox there as they go under the tower. If Giral had been able to jump back out onto Doxy while he was carrying tower aggro, that potentially could have been a big misfire in the 1 versus 2 situation. They could have maybe got a kill, but it's an important block from Creox. He knew he didn't have tower aggro. So VP try the play on top side, but Camille specifically is a very difficult champion to try and get on past 6. So VP are trying, didn't quite come up with anything on that one.
Yep, and while Creox was a little occupied up on the top side, LYN Gaming managed to sneak their jungler and support really inside of the bottom side jungle and ward it all up, steal a few camps away. It's going to be hard now for VP to go that way unspotted, and we haven't seen Paranoia go on a roam yet. In fact, this bottom lane has all been LYN Gaming. Here comes Adi.
Here comes Adi. Got to be careful with that hook, of course, but his blasting is taking a lot of damage.
Teleport flash. Ooh boy, White Lotus, quick on the fingers. Stop that one up. You definitely want to respect it, but there have been summoners traded around the board. It's Blasting who doesn't have a seal, and Santis who doesn't have his flash.
Yeah, flash for flash in that bottom lane, and the teleport was used. Let's keep our eyes on that one as Doxy didn't have the equalizer available, so VP throwing a lot to hold that situation, but both teams in a very tense situation to begin this game off. No real plays have been that effective yet in this game, but VP, you've got to give him credit for trying to track Adi around this map. Remember, LYN Gaming have had some of the biggest gold leads of the teams here in the MSI first round of play-ins. They normally average 2.8k gold lead at 15 minutes. Right now, we're just about even between these two teams. Nobody is really crushing.
Yeah, and you couple that with they have one of the fastest game times too. We could be very well in unfamiliar territory. As Giral goes in onto Doxy, there is the equalizer out, but Giral dodges most of the damage. However, can't dodge away from the Flame Spitter. It's a trade up top of the spinning aggro, but all of a sudden the dual lanes arrive, and that's first blood for the Blitz.
They didn't expect the lane swap up to top lane. They were getting pushed in heavily for VP on the bottom lane for a lot of this laning phase, so they just say, okay, it's a losing lane, let's take the trade. This is something that Vedius was talking about on the Analyst Desk yesterday, where you get yourself out of these rougher situations by making a lane swap happen. Now Adi has to be careful, repel up, but here comes Paranoia.
There's a flash already burned, and they got Adi down. Paranoia finishes the job, and now they're going to be able to push this tower nice and quick. VP, they swing up topside, get 2 kills. They're going to get first tower blood.
We said Paranoia was looking a snowball for his bot lane. Turns out they were in the top lane, Devin. They come up top, get tower first blood, get the first kills of the game. And LYN Gaming, they are not used to this early game play out of VP, at least not in this game. When you look at how VP is starting to take things to them, react to being at least marginally behind early on. LYN didn't have that answer in this playbook, and that's something I want to track throughout the rest of today. Is this a common symptom of LYN Gaming? Because in game 1, VP seemed to have their early game number.
Even if the Blitzcrank wasn't able to get a whole lot of plays down on the bottom side, moving it up to the top definitely paid off right now, and as a result, VP are rocking themselves 1,500 gold lead, just shy of 10 minutes on the clock, and well, they're looking pretty solid at the minute, waiting on those item spikes. We'll see what happens when they start grouping a lot more.
And now the thing you have to look at for VP on the next phase of this, as Paranoia maybe gets dope. Oh, nice arrow.
Stops him up just a second, but Santis is there to intercept. Genthic's coming around. LYN are foiled.
Arrow forces the cleanse out of Paranoia, but this is the response I was about to say. What will VP do here? How will they then look for the next tower? Because the worst thing they could do is sit back and just allow Giral and Saya to get a lot of farm and utilize the 1-3-1. VP have to keep taking it to LYN Gaming to start this game off. They have to continue the lead that they have and deny LYN's ability to set up their side lanes effectively, but Blitzcrank does struggle with that. Mid lane is typically where you'll end up putting the Blitzcrank next, but as long as you play with a lot of respect to Santis, it's hard for a Blitzcrank to have the same kind of impact as a lot of supports.
But they can use him just to try and scare off LYN Gaming, as they were able to do with help from a few other members as well on this Dragon Pit. It is a Mountain Drake, so it's going to be very important, especially if you're LYN Gaming, to try and get those 1-3-1s, chipping away at those towers. You want to make sure you can grab as many of those types of Drakes as you can, but since they're very contestable right now, and the Mountain Drake's a little bit tougher to finish off, LYN didn't want to opt for what could have been a bad situation. Creox looking, waiting in the wings, does not get the steal off on the blue. A little too late to the party.
An important ward just caught Santos on his way up to mid lane there. What they were trying to do is have Blitzcrank drop out of vision, appear in mid lane with the likes of a Talia. Doxy was around mid lane as well. Maybe you come out with the equalizer and suddenly whoever's sitting under mid tower just dies. And there's no way of holding that tower, but with Santos getting stopped, Paranoia ended up recalling as well. VP didn't have that additional momentum. They're looking for it again here. 2 versus 1 in mid lane. Sia has his ultimate, has his flash, and has a lot of respect towards what VP are doing right now. And that's a good sign out of LYN Gaming. Now they're starting to react to the initial plays out of VP.
Just able to walk it out right now. Still, the lead very slim, but that might change. And Santos wanders right into the brush. Seiya's going to get the finish off. Teleport coming in for Doxy, but it is a little bit too late. Support's already down. They do seismic shove. Audi back in, but he's gone up, and now he goes down, trying to juke out the shots from Creox, and Doxy kicks him. Finish the job. He even lands a Sonic Wave on a White Lotus, but he thinks better of it. Rather go for the Drake, so it ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. But Dragon going the way of VP.
VP had to continue to take that fight because Giral wasn't TPing in, which means LYN Gaming were focused on trying to get that tower down in the top side. They thought Doxy was going to cancel his TP, so VP had to get at least another kill, had to get the Mountain Drake from that exchange. Arrow comes in, hits Paranoia.
Oh boy, he's going to get stopped up for just a second, taken out by Seiya. That's his second of the game, and now Doxy tagging in. A double kill for Seiya as he gets pulled. It's Genthix that gets pulled on the other side, but now LYN Gaming are going all in on this mid lane. Looking for Doxy. Giral decides to opt out of that one, gets attack sweep on. Doxy Santos still trying to chase, but there's a blast going there. Giral's going to be able to get out safely for now. Santos keeps chasing, though.
Yeah,
Not to get a pull off.
This time it's the TP from Giral that turns it around, and that's a lot of pressure now put on that middle lane. Of course, they now don't focus on the top side with that Camille for now, bringing the fight to mid lane. See it, although he's down in CS, is heavily up in the kill focus as well. Look, White Lotus again hits that arrow. This time Paranoia doesn't have that cleanse. It was down from the last time that arrow hit, and LYN Gaming have just grouped on mid lane and said, okay, we'll take the fight to you while you don't have everybody available to help. And then LYN just continue go past the towers, zone off VP. It doesn't result in a tower for them in exchange, but again, a 3-0 echo is exactly what LYN were looking for.
They managed to turn it right back around, so the gold lead honestly is a lot slimmer than it used to be, and considering the fact that LYN weren't even working on the full power spikes just yet. I mean, you look at what White Lotus is packing at the minute. Since he got the early Berserker Greaves, he still was waiting. He just finishes now his Blade of the Ruined King to match up with what Blasting was doing, but Blasting was still sitting on basic boots. And now, well, they're looking pretty happy with the way Seiya's managed to get fed here. That is a lot of gold in his pocket to try and work with.
It is, and it means that Paranoia now struggles to have impact in the side lane. Echo will just be able to take those trades. Has Proto Belt on as well. Audi, they've baited Paranoia up. Flash of Flash will be a happy one for Audi at least, because now it means if Sia or Giral face off against Paranoia, should mean almost certain death for the VP's mid laner.
Yeah, they have to watch their backs right now. The pressure's still on for this Virtus Pro squad. Doxy trying to push in the mid lane, but you can see the rest of LYN Gaming mobilizing to intercept here, and VP are wise to it. They're not going to push any farther than they have to. All the same, very close game as we approach 15 minutes.
Yeah, close game, 1 dragon on the board. Mountain Drake is the second one. Had a lot of Oceans and Cloud Drakes yesterday. Already getting some of the more exciting ones. We've got a Blitzcrank in this game as well.
Opening on the day like this. You can't really ask for a whole lot better, Stress.
No, not at this point now. We got to look at it though. LYN with the TP down in the top lane. VP the same. Arrow comes out mid because they want to go aggressive while they got the numbers.
On to Blasting. He's going to have to burn Flash, and he just can't quite get away. White Lotus finishes the job with a few arrows in his back. 2 sums down, and you still die. Feels bad, man.
It looks like LYN kind of had almost a mentality shift here where it went from not reacting quite quick enough to VP to now saying, okay, we need to respect these guys so much that it has to be us making plays with this Ashe. Put it in mid lane, throw the arrow out. That's 3 for 3 on arrows hitting in mid lane. And it means that Blasting now is the victim of that engage in mid lane. And I like that LYN suddenly have gone, okay, we cannot wait. This game has to be dictated by us, just like all of our games were in the LLN.
Absolutely. Virtus Pro are finding that one out the hard way, that LYN Gaming can really adapt on the fly and make some big plays. And I mean, we talked about Seiya being the superstar of this team, but it's worth mentioning White Lotus all the time as being pretty much the next guy on that roster. And he's definitely going to earn a lot of respect after this game. You can see it's already happening. The QSS picked up for blasting second item. He's still on basic boots, but he wants to get out of those arrows.
And now that's a pickup that is necessary for blasting at some point in this game, and right now it becomes somewhat of a deterrent. It will earn its own weight in gold for the rest of this, because you can see White Lotus just kind of says, okay, blasting, you need to flash that. You didn't, and now you're dead. So White Lotus flashes in himself, but importantly, this is one drawback of Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank has very low utility when it comes to assisting allies. Great for picks, great for silencing people and knocking people up. Very bad for anything like shielding, healing, saving, you name it, Blitzcrank can't do it. And that is where this pick does let individually blasting down. He now has to buy a QSS very early because there's nobody to assist him in that moment that arrow hits.
This was so troubling too when you consider what we were looking at, the comp being built up is to try and get blasting ahead, and he's been set a little bit back at the minute, especially when you compare to White Lotus.
Yeah.
Not only has a sizable CS advantage, but the item spikes, the damage, the kills, everything.
Absolutely. Now, I don't want to pin it all on Santos. Blasting died with flash and heal up, so it was certainly a somewhat avoidable death there, but that is just one comp limitation that VP have in this. But I still like the plays they made in the early game. We still want to see more of this rumble with the equalizer coming through. Maybe they can zone away on the mid lane and focus that tower down. That's one area Blitzcrank has great success in. You just walk towards mid and everybody has to give you a lot of respect.
And they have the siege ability. I mean, it's helped a little bit as Santos gets tinged by the arrow, but they turn it right around. Creox gets the kickoff onto Genthix, who has to burn his flash away. All of a sudden, it's a party in the mid lane as Giral is even walking through, and the two mid laners are nowhere to be found down towards the Dragon Pit at the minute.
You can see Paranoia has to take a big distance away from Seiya at almost all times because of how far away he is. Now that equalizer coming out zones them away. It's VP trying to get the tower.
Giral will not be zoned. He takes down Santos, throws him in the ultimatum, and all of a sudden LYN are mobilized to try and chase this one down. Doxy taking the shot from that Hextech Proto Belt, but that's about it right now. The rest of Paranoia, or the rest of Virtus Pro managed to regroup with Paranoia coming in. Can't siege this mid anymore, though. There's a big minion wave, and the rest of LYN are here. They want to push it themselves.
Yeah, but LYN now are going to look over towards the Mountain Drake. It's a much easier objective to take at this point, and that was a little bit greedy, perhaps, from VP. They'd already got the equalizer behind the tower, and LYN weren't quite reacting to it. Maybe if they'd have pulled across and hit the tower from behind the minions, like Santos kind of got locked down by Giral. Now, maybe it's VP overextending again in this middle lane. If they get locked down here, it could be a big problem.
Couldn't get the tower, but they have found Seiya right now. He's a little bit low. No ultimate just yet, still on the cooldown. But LYN have managed to clear away the wave. So they hold their tower. They grab themselves a Mountain Drake. Things are looking a lot better for the LATAM North squad.
Also got the flash from Doxy on that exchange as well. So VP, now we've entered the point of the game where this 1-3-1 is starting to get strong enough to drag VP around the map, stop them from grouping. No teleport, no Weaver's Wall, none of these abilities that can group quick enough. And that means LYN Gaming, at most points in the game, will have an advantage just from composition. If they can drag this out to the side lanes, force people into a 1-3-1 setup, they will have the advantage.
We'll see if VP can't force them back into more of a 4v4, 5v5 situation. For the time being, they've got to deal with these side waves. As you said, blasting preoccupied on the bottom side. You see the LYN Gaming members up top are already backing away as they managed to clear a few waves. It's still only 1-1 in towers. It has not lacked for action, though, as we expected. A lot of fights, a lot of skirmishes. A couple of dragons on the board, but 20 minutes into this game, still anybody's to take, but LYN Gaming are looking a lot stronger at the minute.
It is still mostly an even game, which means VP, they're still at a tipping point where the next fight or two really settles this for them. If they get a fantastic equalizer or a hook onto Sia or White Lotus is a lot more likely to get killed in those exchanges if he gets hooked in. That's what they potentially can build from. Now they hook Genthix.
Oh man, and they even had Creox right behind it, but if you blink, you would have missed it. Blasting gets the kill for that one, his first of the game. And now the siege is on mid with only White Lotus here to defend. Audi scrambling behind, but they're gonna have to take this one and instead try to trade it Seiya up top.
And all you gotta look at is the minimap. You see Seiya top side, Giral bot side. You know exactly what VP are gonna do there. Genthix with no flash didn't clear enough distance from Santis to be able to get away. It looks like Santis flashed in before the hook. And that means the VP, they take down that very difficult mid tower to get, but Santis caught again.
Yeah, looked like he was catching Audi, but it was the other way around. He takes him down, and Blasting just has to leave him for dead at the minute. The rest of LYN Gaming have already moved towards the mid side. Even Seiya closing a gap up in this jungle right now, and with Doxy still no teleport, down on the bottom side, it was an easy pick, and unfortunately it looks like Blasting's in trouble too. Kick back, but now Creox is caught and goes Paranoia. Can they turn this one around? They get Audi.
Yeah, Audi couldn't quite flash out over the wall. And this has become quite scrappy in this mid lane. You can see LYN trying to collapse around to the mid lane, trying to dive in behind, but that tower still stands and is very healthy. And Santis got cocooned into the arrow. Good layering of crowd control. Blasting doesn't have enough damage to save Santis from this. Teleport ended up completing out of Jural. They ended up pushing further towards mid lane and looked for the dive, but VP turn it back around and at least hold their own in the mid lane. Back and forth, very even matchup between these two teams.
Yep, a lot of fights. Sometimes it just comes down to how well you can coordinate a little bit better. Virtus Pro, this newer squad, having come into the LCL at the end of last year. Only been together just about that time, but they were built from the best available roster that the CIS had to offer, and there's a reason they managed to get here. Remember, they knocked off M19, the former Albus Nox Luna, had a very surprise finals with Vivecta Syndicate, or esports I should say. And in all honesty, there's still a lot of fight in these guys, especially coming up against a team that has only lost one game in their home region throughout this spring. And here comes Paranoia. Again? Weaver's Wall is gonna stop up Audi. Now White Lotus isolated, pulled in, taken down. The gang squad's arrived. And is this going to be a Baron attempt?
They can look for it now. White Lotus, remember, one of the big engage tools here. They can at least get vision control around the Baron. They are going to start it off with the Rumble, with the Blade of the Ruin King Varus. They can take it down a decent pace early on. It is at about 6,000 health right now. But LYN Gaming still have a lot of bite left. Seiya, 3-0. Proto Belt has the ability to get in, get a multi-person stun, so VP have to back away. But it's a good pick. Onto White Lotus while he doesn't have flash. If every fight happens like that, VP will be very happy.
See if they want to try to make another play in onto Seiya here. Creox does land the Sonic Wave, but he doesn't go any farther than that. Naughty doesn't want to take this. Meanwhile, White Lotus just gets the respawn timer, and VP are back to the Baron pit to try and clear away the vision. A lot of wards placed inside of that for LYN Gaming side, but now the path forward is clear for this team. Definitely want to pick up that Baron buff and try to counter push as much as they can. Ooh, Santis revealed. Little too early on that hook trigger.
Yeah, just couldn't quite connect with it, but you see how just losing either White Lotus or Genthix affects LYN's ability to get out on the map. Like, one of the things that a lot of people kind of overlook with 1-3-1 is how important that 3-person stack is in the middle lane. Like, everybody sees the side laners doing all the work and goes, okay, great, it's the side laners that are earning all the money on this one. Well, if you don't have like 80 carry your marksman in the middle lane, then you have to compensate, whether it's Jural coming across, Seiya coming across. It's one of the basic concepts of 1-3-1 in League of Legends that, that when White Lotus dies, there's almost nothing LYN can do to set up that composition. It becomes very, very tough.
Yeah, they need to be able to protect him as best they can. And to be fair, that is the first time he'd gone down, but with the Weaver's Wall cutting them off, that's a tool that Virtus Pro do have, and they've been able to utilize it well as Paranoia is able to fight it out to pick up his own blue buff. It was contested. LYN Gaming are stacked around this Baron pit, but they're not going to rush it down. It's a very controlled team at the minute.
Yeah, controlled on this one now. White Lotus will have his flash available as we speak, which means that's likely not going to happen again. I think White Lotus will say to himself, okay, I'm just going to stay a screen's length away from Blitzcrank at all times in this game.
Generally a good idea when you're playing up against the Blitzcrank, but all the same, that evens the kill score out, right? It's 6-6 at the minute. It's very, very close in the gold, but Virtus Pro still have that early lead, and they now pick up themselves a Cloud Drake, so it's a little extra mobility, trying to make those picks happen a little bit more. But the later stages of the game, as you said, the 1-3-1 is especially good when you have a fed Echo. You have a Camille that has a Trinity Force, has for a little while, and is only going to get stronger on the side push with the Tiamat. Once you complete the Hydra item, it's going to be really hard for Virtus Pro to push back on this. You got to think they're going to have to force a fight down the mid.
And what a different playstyle it has to be now out of LYN, at least when you look at pacing on the game. This is a team that had the lowest average game time of all of our MSI Play-In's team, just over 31 minutes.
We might very well go past that. I imagine there's not a whole lot of reason we wouldn't.
And you look at that as being an average over 31 games in their split. Like, that's how much they crushed through. Now, VP sent a bit of a shock to their system early on, which I'm glad to see that LYN can react to in-game, because I think you look at that early play onto top tower that VP made, it's a very smart play. LYN then had to react with the mid lane engages. VP weren't quite ready for that, but now we've had the response come through again. This has been a very back and forth decision-making process that changes. They're iterating on it again and again, and now we've kind of come into a bit of a slow point out of VP. They don't have the flash down on White Lotus to try and capitalize on. LYN have both of their teleports up, which means we enter the phase of play that favors LYN. They can push the side lanes out. Any bad trade taken by Paranoia or Doxy, and they end up losing their life, and LYN take a lot more than just one kill for it.
And VP, you know, it'll be interesting to see if they try to just keep going for these picks or if they can surprise in a big fight. I mean, they still do have this Rumble, right? We haven't seen a huge amount of 5-man equalizer stacking that they can just then turn into a huge team fight victory. It's mostly been used for picks. It's mostly been used to try and zone off towers. But now that you have 2 of the outer turrets all done and the bottom lane being pushed in by Giral, where do you start to send that Rumble?
You have to send him defensively, pretty much in the position that he's in now. He never wants to trade against Giral further up in the lane than he is now. Any trade that's taken at the midpoint of the map, Camille will micro you out, just jump on you and kill you instantly, and Doxy won't be able to survive that. But here, he's moderately safe. Any large wave that stacks against him is easily cleared. But LYN need to try and force more on. He gets hooked in.
Oh boy, he's going to go up, and the arrow comes in. It lands onto Santos. Now blasting, stopped up for a second. Asaya has tagged his way in, flashing forward, trying to finish the AD carry, but he has to snap back. Finally, blasting goes down. It's White Lotus that is pumping out arrows. A double kill for the Ashe. Paranoia limps away, and Doxy arrives too late, throws the equalizer, but LYN are all alive. Audi is very low, has to burn a flash. Disrespecting White Lotus, is caught on the side. He's going to manage to take him down. It's Doxy staying alive, goes golden. Audi burning low. It ends up being a 2-for-1 trade.
Yeah, LYN committing more on the bot side again. Giral not TPing in early. This is something that has happened a couple of times now. Doxy TPs out of the lane, and LYN say, okay, we can utilize the 2 kills we got here to get a tower in the bottom lane, which doesn't look like it's going to end up being that way because Creox comes down. So again, LYN hold their top teleport. This play out of VP, good to try and capitalize on a hook that comes through, but look at where Creox is in base. It means the numbers advantage until the Rumble teleport completes is always in favor of LYN Gaming. Santos falls, and at this point, the equalizer does a good job of cutting LYN a little bit lower in their health bars, slowing them out. That allows the Weaver's Wall to come through, and at any point, Camille could have TP'd in and completely turned this fight back in favor of LYN Gaming, but they hold on to the TP. They lose a kill at the tail end of it. They still have 2 kills to come out ahead, but you saw White Lotus, double summoners down, couldn't survive.
Poor guy, and you saw Gentrix just flashed over the wall. I was like, see ya, bro.
Yep.
Unfortunately, sometimes your support does leave you. But VP, they still got eyes on this Baron right now. A lot of pings, they control the vision. There is a few wards behind the pit for LYN Gaming, and they're definitely wise to any Baron attempts, but everybody is stacked by this Baron side. VP really want to secure this one up. It's all going to be about clearing for the time being, though, unless they get a pick onto Audi or win a convincing team fight. Shouldn't be starting it just yet.
No, not just yet. You say get a pick on Audi, the Sonic Wave connects, and you're like, oh, is that going to be the time? But Audi is well in defensive territory.
Yeah. Although Creox has not really been susceptible to Lee Syndrome this game. We have to give him some credit for not going on some of the crazier dives. He's controlled it quite well, and I mean, obviously Lee Sin is jungle 101, but not everybody plays it that way.
That's true. We from Europe, we've seen a couple of particularly good Lee Sin players come to mind, so it's excited to see how Creox can compete on this Lee Sin as the game goes forward, because Lee's impact tends to fall a little lower. You don't quite become a kick bot, but certainly that is one of the engage tools VP have. So I was kind of talking a little bit about Giral not using his TP and how it didn't affect the team fight. Well, now it affects the game state because Doxy doesn't have his. TP available for Giral, TP available for Saya gives full teleport advantage over to LYN Gaming. So as long as they can play out on those side lanes, which for now they haven't on top side, Saya can go and clear that wave top. They want to go for an arrow?
Can't hit them all.
No, but you also don't need to be making that play. But look at Giral coming across. Giral wasn't quite in position yet. Clear out the top lane. Reactivate that lane. It's basically a dead lane for LYN right now as it's pushing in towards them. Put the pressure back on VP. Force them to play around these teleports more effectively rather than just throwing out an arrow in mid lane. That's the one time this game where it hasn't really worked.
VP know this right now. They're constantly pinging the top side. They want to keep LYN Gaming locked up by this Dragon Pit because LYN, they want to get this, they want to get out.
Oh, he's going to White Lotus.
Allowed here. White Lotus. Oh, the kick back in! And Santos gets White Lotus. This guy cannot catch a break. That's Dragon.
The difficulty on that situation out of what LYN were doing was they were trying to group around to deny VP getting Baron, but the problem is now, look, top is pushing for them. Sia has to go there. The tower's already lost most of its health, which now is fine to clear the wave out, but look at the bottom lane pressure here. Camille had to recall come bot lane while the wave was pushing out. If Sia had already cleared that top wave and White Lotus had played a little further back, that flash kick hook doesn't really connect. You play with respect around the hawk shot, around the vision control, and then you say, okay, we have an Echo pushing topside. I want to push that wave all the way out. They won't get Mountain Drake if we have double TP available.
Didn't end up being the case. White Lotus found out the hard way as he was pinballed around in that jungle. And at 32 minutes, I mean, we've got now the gold lead swinging back in VP's favor. They get that kill. They get themselves another dragon, a Mountain Drake. So they're going to be able to push these even faster, including if they want to go for the Baron. And they get themselves the last outer turret.
Well, we passed the mark, Devin. We
are officially into unfamiliar territory for LYN Gaming.
Wow.
Less familiar territory.
31-50 is an average, so they must have had some
semantics
games go later.
You know it.
But certainly, this is a period of the game where normally LYN would say, okay, we're done with this, but they are behind in this game. And VP have had a great showing, and considering there was a lot of discussion coming into this game about the CIS region, some of the analysts, at least externally in the build-up to the MSI Play-In, thought CIS maybe had kind of lost a step from Worlds. It doesn't look like it because VP contending very well.
Speaking of step,
LYN.
Yeah, flash burned. It looked like Audi was going to be getting a quick kill there, but they managed to turn it around as now Creox goes in on the chase. Cocoon's there. There is nowhere for the Spider to go, however. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, and he gets kicked down to oblivion. 9th kill of the game for Virtus Pro as Creox gets it.
A lot of rocks in that wall. Not sure building a wall is quite the best way of catching a spider, but nevertheless, it worked out.
I mean, it might be overkill, but it works.
Hey, look, there's not a lot of reasons to build walls, okay? LCS from Berlin. There's a lot of history in that one, but Creox wants to maybe make history out of that Baron, but it was just wards he was looking for now.
Rest of the line game here.
The hooks.
Oh, teleport coming in now. Doxy's going to complete this channel. Parallel Convergence is going to land. He dodges out of it. Blasting. They have caught onto Giral, but it's just enough to slow him down as he hook shots away. Still, 9 seconds on Audi. Tense moment right now. It's pings for LYN Gaming. They want to make sure this Baron does not get started.
Difficult though, as Audi only just back available. No flash means any kind of steal attempt on a Baron would be a one-way trip. It's not an easy one, but oh, here comes
a one-way. Giral, he's going to try to make the play onto Creox and Paranoia. Isaiah's got in the back. Giral's managing to finish that kill off, and just in time. They get themselves redemption coming down. Giral goes a little bit too deep, gets hooked in, pulled. He flashes in the pit, but not before Santos gets the final shot. Top and jungle traded away. That's a long death timer for both of those players. It's going to be a 4v4 for a little while. In goes Paranoia, looking for White Lotus, throw the equalizer down. He's going to burn his flash, dodges the shove, turning onto Paranoia, the flash, the hook. White Lotus gets the kill, but he gives his life, and now Blasting trying to duke it out with Audi Seiya tagging his way in. Audi comes down, the shot finishes him off. No junglers left alive in this one. Double kill now for Blasting before he falls. This is an all-out brawl, and Seiya is going to have to flash to freedom. Genthix is going to follow suit. It ends up being 2v2 left on this map, but Virtus Pro, they've got the charge.
Yeah, kill for kill, back and forth from both VP and LYN, and this game explodes with a team fight as... I mean, okay, so Santos and the rest of VP come across the mid lane here looking for White Lotus, and White Lotus flashes early. He knows he can take the trade against Paranoia alone, but in comes Santos into the fight. The fadeaway arrow, one last breath from White Lotus is enough to take him down, but ends up losing his life for it. Blasting, long-range hook, not even looking around the wall, is able to pick him off. But LYN scrapping these fights. considering Sia was 3-0 to start this game off, now 4-0-4. He's had great impact, but LYN have struggled to stem the bleeding when it comes to White Lotus. We talked about this earlier, Devin.
Yeah, Doxy is going to find that one out the hard way. Can't be pushing up so far in lane as Giral is just going to wreck him down, and he walks it out nice and slow. Tack sweep, finishes him off a couple of auto attacks. Doxy trying to get out of there, but it's just not happening. Buying time here, and now that is a numbers advantage for LYN Gaming. They're going to be mobilizing towards this Baron pit, and there's teleport up for Giral.
Yeah, and there's no teleport for Doxy, and he's 47 seconds away from being alive. So all it means is LYN have to control the vision around this Baron pit, and they can take the bot tower. The tower is the objective they're looking for. The Baron is the bait. If VP come anywhere near close enough, the TP might come out from Giral. White Lotus will have the arrow. This is a little bit greedy perhaps, but look where Paranoia is. That's one of the reasons why they've started this Baron up. But starting it throws a lot in this. Okay, they stay on it, they get it. Okay, that's fine.
All right, tense moment there. All the same, we saw Creox looking sneakily around the backside of the pit, but he was deterred. So LYN Gaming managed to pick themselves up a Baron. Big objective for this team that wants to try to siege on 3 lanes. And it'll be up to VP to try and push them back while the Baron buff is active.
You ever tried to push back a 1-3-1 with Baron buff? It's a difficult task. But the way that they would stop that is, again, Santos gets a hook on White Lotus. No flash available. Elder Drake is up in 20 seconds. If LYN perhaps end up going for it on their way out, then maybe they get picked off. They kind of can't rely so heavily on the 1-3-1 because both teleports are available. So LYN are kind of grouping up on this. Looking for Doxy here.
Doxy throws down the equalizer. It's not going to tag anybody, but he does turn into Audi, and Giral goes forward, narrowly dodging it. Seiya gets shut down right now. What was happening on the other side of the screen as Creox manages to chase away the rest of LYN Gaming, and now Elder's on the menu.
Oh my, VP with 3 Drakes are turning towards Elder, but look, it's a bait. This is what LYN should have been doing around the Baron buff. They couldn't quite get on to, I believe it was Genthix. Heading around in the middle lane, you can see VP can deny the push onto the mid lane tower and take Elder Drake. Camille is up in the top side with no teleport available. Doxy has his, but he can't really stop Camille with Baron buff at this point. This is level 18 Camille. Very difficult to take any kind of fight against, which means for the duration of this Baron buff, LYN will continue to push forward with the minion.
But Virtus.pro have managed to secure themselves up the Elder Dragon on 2 Mountain Drakes. That's definitely going to help them to try and push objectives, but they need to stop the bleeding with the minion waves. Doxy's back. He's going to be able to clear most of these minions out with the Flame Spitter, but now where do they go next? A lot of them stacked mid.
It's unlikely for the duration of this Elder that they will be in a position to take objectives. Look, 1 minute 40 left on Baron buff. Yes, okay, Elder is a little bit longer as of a bunch of patches ago, but still, there's not a lot of time where there's no overlap. So Sia goes in, kick, immediately taken out. Of course, no way of him getting out of that kick at that point, not running anything like a QSS, can't, ult back out. But Sia gets caught out. We'll have the ult for the next fight.
Well, Seiya's been slippery throughout this entire game. When you go 38 minutes without dying and you start stacking up those kills, it's very impressive, and there's a reason this guy is considered the superstar of LATAM North. However, you shut him down, and you see how quickly the fight starts to turn. VP with the 5k gold advantage with the Baron buff, or with the Elder Dragon buff against the Baron of LYN Gaming. It's only for another minute though, and they're stacking on the mid. They really want to knock down this tower, second tier. It's pretty low.
Unfortunately, there's a wave clear sat behind the tower with Sia clearing things out. It's interesting, the priority here, mid lane for VP is where they want to continue to go, and of course we talked about this Blitzcrank, you put in mid lane to try and hook somebody through, but that Camille is still pushing bottom lane. Good cutoff using the Weaver's Wall, but VP, this is a precarious position, but they will get the tower. I was wrong, Devin. I thought they wouldn't have too much of a position to take objectives. That's an inhibitor going down for VP.
But they're going to trade it right now. There's still a teleport on Doxy, but he's not spending it. So as a result, they're going to trade inhibitor in the middle for the one in the bottom side. It's even trade because of how fast Giral is able to do it. But now they've got to get the hell out of dodge, unless the backs can be stopped right now. Look what's going on the minimap. Giral is taking down the next turret.
TP coming through from Doxy. We're not quite in a base race situation, but VP may look to go back aggressive here. If they can deny Camille's recall, that's 1 Nexus tower down. VP aren't buying it. They want to play this game out a lot slower than a base race. They don't want to all in on this.
That was a dangerous game of chicken, but at the end of the day, Giral is able to march the minions through. They get one Nexus tower out. So LYN Gaming actually coming ahead of that, but it is at the cost of Adi's life. It's 25 seconds till he's going to be available. What can VP do?
Slow the game down again is what VP want to do for now, at least. They're looking for single picks to look to close these games out, and here was one of them. I believe this is where they end up killing Sia or Adi. It was Adi they catch again. Flash hook comes out. Santos, you got to give him credit. This throw all the flashes at him. Get him, just get the kill, move back in.
Managed to get it at the end of the day, but still, that was a high cost with Giral able to push it. I mean, that's the power of a Camille when you're sitting on almost a full item stack. The Titanic Hydra has been there for a while. You had to kill him twice because he's got the Guardian Angel. So that is a legitimate huge threat. Even if Seiya has been kind of the primary carry of this team, you've got to watch out for that now, too.
Speaking of primary carries, I think we know who Blasting's favorite player is. Reckless, he's got a frozen mallet. Look at it, he's got the
I thought
build.
we escaped it when we were moving from EU here. It's back. Okay, cool. Frozen Mallet. You get a lot of slow on your hits. Whatever.
Well, I mean, wow. Okay, it's dismissive. Fair enough. We can move on to a different talking point. It's fine.
I need to ease into this one. It
okay.
still throws me through a loop, but that's okay. Giral is able to push up in the top side now. So it's been less of a 1-3-1 and more of a 4-1 for a while, but it seems that it's working in LYN's favor as long as they don't get any more members caught.
That's a big ask. I think White Lotus will look back at this game and be very frustrated because he has been flash hooked like 4 times this game. And
Conveniently S4 down.
yeah, exactly. But like White Lotus, he's hit so many arrows early on that set this game up. The rest of the team, they've been a little uncoordinated on being out on the side lanes when they should be out on the side lanes. Like, look, there's no vision control to allow them on the bottom lane. The biggest symptom of this 1-3-1 not being set up that I'm noticing is it's actually Seiya that isn't out on the side lane for Leon. That's not a criticism, but when you're running Teleport Echo, that is the play pattern that is expected, is you win the side lane, you're already ahead, Paranoia can't duel you. That is one of the strengths that LYN are not leaning on in this game, because VP have a good way of catching out anybody that goes over to the side lane, and it's only really Giral that feels confident enough to be out there on his own.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely curious that they've been more focusing on having Seiya in the mid lane, and yeah, he's been instrumental in getting the dive on and maybe picking up blasting a couple of times, but when you consider how much time they've spent in the mid and they still don't have the outer tower?
And that is part of this Blitzcrank's difficulty, and that is a credit to VP. The fact that LYN have not been able to take mid tower is despite arrows hitting mid lane. With this mid tower still standing, it drags Seiya to the mid lane. You cannot have full vision control of the enemy jungle to set up an effective 1-3-1 without making risks if mid outer tower is still alive. Speaking of risks, LYN are going to try and go over the back of Baron Pit. Now they're a little bit split up. Look at where Camille is. Goes on to Doxy. There's 4 members of VP here.
He did not know that that was how many people were sitting right there. The redemption comes in. Adi's able to take out Blasting. Maybe the fight's on here. Now the equalizer comes down. Itsy Bitsy Spider's got to pop right on up. White Lotus, Seiya, everyone backing out. Giral, though, he's caught. He's gone down to Doxy. It ends up being a 1-for-1 so far. But Paranoia, arrow down. I don't think Legolas had this many arrows, but at the end of the day, White Lotus is coming up huge. It is only going to be Doxy, Krios, Santos. They're all alive, but look at the bottom lane.
Yeah, look at the wave that's pushing in. They're trying to stop the recalls. Doxy just canceled his recall. I think he got hawk shot by White Lotus. The teleport's coming into the base.
They're going to try to finish
Seiya's
this one off.
to the base.
Go look at the base right now. We're watching the 1v1 at Krios.
The TV coming back from
teleport
Doxy.
finally. Oh man, this is going to be nuts here. Krios is trying to
Seiya
finish
killed
the job. White
Santos.
Lotus
The
is
game
still
might
there.
just end.
He's on the Nexus. There are no more turrets here. Doxy does not have the health. LYN Gaming right in, sneaking into the base, and at 45 minutes, they put away the game.
What a ridiculous end for LYN Gaming. Seiya, we talked about the reluctance to play on the side lane while he TPs into the base. They stopped the recalls. I want to see how Blasting died. Adi got right onto him, took away the carry. White Lotus cleaned up the team fight, and Seiya says, here's my one job. I'm going into the base. This game's done.
Thought he was just going to be diving onto people all game and taking out kills, and that was the job. No, 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 no. That was all distraction from the real job. TP in, take the Nexus, get himself 50 gold, and wipe his hands. Game is done. I cannot believe how that ended. We had 45 minutes